some of the, well, I don't know. It just feels like a different feel, but I'm trying to lean into like less like fluff and just straight to the point and
Mhm.
um, just providing value, insight, action item.
Yeah. Honest,
So,
I think that part comes easier as you go along. Like
mhm,
the whole love part. Like I get it. Um you wanna say what you need to say for content purposes because you're a business owner, yes, you're a coach, yes, you're a content creator too. So that's a whole nother ball game. But at the same time, I feel like as you're going throughout your journey and you're doing what you're doing, it becomes easier because it's authentic. It's coming from you authentically, just based on your own experience. So whatever value you give, it's gonna come off in a way that it needs to for those who need to hear it. And you get better and better at it. Like we was talking about it today when we was doing a chapel service. And the chaplain was asking questions. He was just like, "What's that one thing that you was afraid of that you turned into a strength?" And when I talked, I told them that speaking was one thing that I was afraid of growing up because I never was in an environment where I could express myself, or I felt like when I expressed myself, I went unheard or misunderstood. And so that kind of put me in a shell, and I just never really spoke as much. But as I continued along my journey, I began to speak even though my voice shook, and I began to be confident in what I was saying because sometimes I would think things, but it wouldn't come out in the way that I was thinking it. And over time, I started to align my thoughts with my words, and they started to just come to me better and flowed better.
mhm,
Time to do so, and it perfected my messaging. It perfected my craft, and I noticed like when I do speak, I have the power to take over a room essentially.
yeah,
Not like I'm intentionally trying to do that, but it's just where I'm speaking from, it comes from an authentic place. And it's something that needs to be felt more than heard. Like what I'm saying needs to be heard, but it needs to be felt too. So that way it captivates people because the way you speak, it has to captivate somebody's heart, like their soul. Like you really got to be speaking to their heart, their soul, but then really feel what message you're trying to convey to them. So
mhm,
yeah, as
yeah.
you go through the
And
journey,
when I,
you'll.
I I definitely could see the growth in from like first podcast episodes and a lot of fillers. And don't get me wrong, I still be using and filler words
Oh yeah,
sometimes,
no,
but
for
like
sure.
I've definitely gotten more um clear and more grounded in how I speak over time. And so I've noticed that growth, but it's kind of funny that you said that that was the conversation you had today because I kind of had a breakthrough today. I was listening in my business coaching program. I was listening to a previous one of the lessons, and it was
Mhm.
on like limiting beliefs and stuff. And so they were talking about, he was kind of talking to one of the coaches and one of his beliefs, and they started talking about like his childhood and how, because he's a black guy, and he was saying basically like how he, when he was a kid, like he, being the only black guy in his school, like he, it was kind of hard for him to like fit into certain groups and things like that. And then when he did start to like make friends and things like that, like his family would kind of criticize like the people that he was hanging out with. And so it was kind of always like a, if I'm me, like people may not accept me, or, people will criticize or make fun of, or whatever the case may be. And that had me thinking back, and I was like, wow, like I remember, growing up for years, I got like told like people would ask me like, why you talk like that? And I'd be like, talk like what? And they'd be like, proper. And I'm like, you talk white, like, and I mean, I'm sure as a black person, like you've heard, like people would say it with like a negative connotation, and I would always be like, so I would kind of try to use more of the colloquialisms and try to assimilate to not
Mhm.
stand out in that way because it was just like that was just how I was taught to speak. Like I didn't realize it was whatever. So it was just one of those things. So for years, I suppressed, for years, I assimilated, for years, I, tried to not be like I wasn't authentic. And so I was like, that's kind of crazy. Now thinking about it, how I really struggled for some time with reels and things like that, like just talking, because and it was like that was my pain point. That was a core wound of mine from my childhood. So it kind of makes sense that now it's kind of turned into like now I gotta use that. Like, but for so long I had, again, I just wasn't being authentic, that it didn't fully flow, like it wasn't natural anymore. So it's kind of funny that that's kind of how it is. Usually our core wounds tend to be the very thing that we end up using as our gift. So that was, I don't know, that was kind of like a interesting connection that I had not thought of as far as like communication wise. And I always thought like, oh, I'm not a good communicator or whatever the case may be, but it was just there was a lot of suppression, for many years.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. It kind of thinks it makes me think about that old saying is like, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And the way that you speak really emphasizes how much you care, because when you are speaking to somebody, you genuinely want them to have a transformation,
Mhm.
right? And so you're speaking to them from a place of, I not only do I want you to not only do I want to help you, but I want you to help yourself. And I want this for you so bad, which is why I'm speaking to you the way I'm speaking to you. And when people see that, right, it makes them uncomfortable. Like that call you had with that client of yours, you was like, nah, don't project what you want onto me to make the decision for you. No, make a decision. What do you want? Boom. And then you start to critique. Like, didn't you say you get off at this certain time? How's that going to work for you? Oh, well, okay. Make it work for you. And that's where the coaching comes in. And it is more than just coaching, it's caring. It's caring for the fact that that person was in a position that you was once in, where they didn't speak their mind, where they was always just projecting onto others to make decisions for themselves. And you could see that in them because that was once you. And now you're speaking to that same person in the way that you would have wanted somebody to speak to you, but you had to speak that for yourself. And so you become that voice for them. And then essentially they create that voice for themselves, but they need to hear it outside of themselves in order to feel and see a transformation in their own lives.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And it's definitely, I mean, it's all kind of come full circle because like now, pretty much like I want to say like maybe 3 out of 4 posts I get like somebody that's like you, the way you worded that, the way you said it, like it really resonated for me. And um even had the little jokes like I feel attacked or like whatever, like I feel very
Yep.
seen type of thing. So it's definitely something I've actively worked on, and I know I'm only going to get better with time and all these things. But yeah, it's again it's just interesting like how I grew up and what was once something that I steered away from is something that I've stepped into as an adult.
Yeah. It's funny, right? I saw a quote. It's like, it's funny how when being an adult literally means like when it comes to making yourself happy, just going back to being how did it go? So it's like adulthood is essentially going back to the things that made you happy as a child, which is so ironic. Because when you grow up, it's like you kind of forget the things that used to make you happy because you have to be responsible. You have to do things that are uncomfortable because you want to live a certain kind of lifestyle, or you may have certain things that require you to operate at a certain level. And sometimes that level can be uncomfortable, and then you lose yourself at that operation because you become that thing. Because at first it was the intention behind it was to just do it to put you in a certain position, but then you be in that position for so long that you start to lose your own identity of who you once was. And then you look back and you're like, dang, I done been here for 30, 40 years. And it's like,
Mhm.
dang, where'd the time go? And so essentially it's all about just coming back to that natural state of being instead of just doing all the time. Because we always find ourselves just doing stuff, just like going. And that's honestly the culture of America is like just doing, executing,
Let's
always
move
grinding.
outside of the US.
Hey, it's a whole nother world outside the US. They are living completely different. It's so opposite of what we do. Like they prioritize more of your health, your happiness, and your family. Where as opposed to this,
Yeah,
those things come secondary. So
yeah, especially like skills and stuff. It's definitely
yeah.
like, yeah. Listen. Let me find me a husband that say like, let's go, okay?
Not
Like,
here.
say
Look,
that,
America where you work. America is where you work at. Outside the country, that's where you live. That's
right?
how people do. They leave here for 3 to 6 months at a time, and then they come back at the end of like in between Q3 and at the end of or the beginning of Q4. Because it's like, hey, gotta go back, gotta take care of business, gotta make sure the structure's going, yada yada yada. But that's all America is designed to do. You come here to work, and then you go back home to your other to the other country that you live in, and that's just the play. That's the
Yeah,
play.
my daughter, she was asking me, she's like, why are you moving? And I'm just like, listen, like I was like, honestly, just because I want to. It's just it's not. She's like, well, I thought everything was good. I'm like, everything is great. Like
Mm,
that's but I'm like, if only she knew, because like I was certainly like I have thought many times about being like a digital nomad and just traveling to different places and work. I mean, that is the benefit of, having your own business is you have more flexibility on, your hours and things like that, of course. But
mm,
um I'm thinking like once I get like a little more established, like that
mm,
honestly seems like a way to go to because there's just so much that, we don't get to experience here. And just because of the hustle culture and I mean,
mm.
just all the wildness that's going on right now, it's like there's just so much more. And I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. There's more than one life, I feel like, but in this life, we get one life. And so I want to
Mhm.
make the most of it. Like, I don't want to be 45, 50, 60 years old and thinking about what could have been, what
Facts,
did I not see? What did I not experience? Like, I don't want that. So,
facts. And that's why we're doing this episode right now. Yeah, it's an episode now. That's why
right?
we're
It's
doing
already,
it. Yeah. That's why we're doing this right now because we have that like no matter how you may feel, there's always something in you that says like you have to almost like you want to, you get to because it's a privilege in a sense, you know? We get the opportunity to show up in the way that we show up because a lot of people right now aren't showing up in the way that they want to because they're so busy living off their excuses that they don't take action on the things they need to do to get them to where they want to be. And therefore, they continue to drown themselves in the excuses until it's like once you start taking action, it's so hard. Like, it's so hard to get up and go to the gym in the morning. Oh, it's so hard to eat healthy. It's so hard to read that book, to listen to that podcast. Like, it's so hard. But once you get over that, it becomes something that is just a part of you. Like you feel weird when you don't do it. And honestly, with these podcasts that we be doing, even though sometimes these episodes be impromptu and we do be having like topics to talk about, I feel so like this is an exercise for me. And no matter how tired or exhausted I may feel, this is an exercise that I get the opportunity to practice because I see the growth within myself. And I would be remiss. As a matter of fact, I would do myself a disservice if I didn't show up and continue to do this because I'm I'm being watched. Like we're all not alone. Like even though we're, by ourselves, we're never truly alone. And sometimes that thought creeps in saying, "Oh, I thought you wanted to be a thought leader." Like, "Oh, I thought you wanted to inspire people. Oh, I thought you wanted to do this. Oh, you're tired because of what? Huh?" And that's when the excuses come in, like, man, it's been a long week. I done had to train. I done been doing XYZ. I done had to drive home. And this is like, I don't want to live a life of excuses. I don't want to live a life of regret. And I don't want to live a life of excuses. And if I, for once, give in to my excuses, then I'm going to give in to every other excuse that comes along with whatever it is that I'm doing. And that excuse is always going to be there to be like, hey, look, hey, it's like you walking through a door, but there's another door you can go through. Like, hey, you can come to this door right here. You can just chill out right here. You ain't got to do all that. You can just come over here real quick for a second, and you be like, you know what? You're right. Maybe I can just come over here and just, just chill out for a little bit. I'll go to that door later. But then it's like, how long are you gonna be in that room? Because time passes different. Time moves differently when you're in these comfortable spaces. And I'm not trying to say that there's something wrong with comfort. But I do think there's something wrong when you fall so deeply into your excuses that it creates like a track in your brain that you just automatically go to whenever things get too hard, you know? And that's just something that I don't want to create. I don't want to create an excuse that I can lean on, because if I do that, then I'm always look for that excuse when things get hard.
And
Yeah.
I will say, everything you said definitely resonates, and I feel that it's very true. And I do think that there is a balance to it, because yes, life be happening. And honestly, like, I mean, I know we weren't necessarily planning to do this, episode, and it just happened. And I feel like even with the week that you had, like, I feel like our conversations, and I was actually talking to my mom earlier, and I told her, like, I was like, I have a podcast and homework to do. I still got some homework to do. And she's like, "Oh, so you got a lot to do in a little bit of time." I was like, "Yeah, but I'm looking forward to the podcast. Like, it always feels like it's like it rejuvenates me. It
Mm.
doesn't feel like another like task, like, like the homework I could yeah, that's not so much. But the podcast, like, it's definitely, because I mean, honestly, it always feels like just, a conversation with you, and it's, we always just, it just flows. And a lot of times, like, yeah, we were just chatting, and I feel like we just walking podcast episodes, like we just
We are walking
we've
topics.
done
We
this
are
so many times, like it just is impromptu. But I mean, there is a balance to it as far as, I think, like, not, well, not the excuses aspect, but sometimes life is lifing, and sometimes it does require for us to sit. Sometimes there's moments of reflection that are required so that we can, like, pause and then get into a period of like building the momentum and moving forward, and then there's times of like, because I've found for me, like, I've been in go mode and like no excuses and all that stuff, and then I get sick. And for me, like, I don't know about y'all, but like when I get sick, I'm like, oh, okay, spirit telling me to sit my ass down. Like, that's what that means. Because I haven't, taken time to truly be present and take care of either, me mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever, physically, and that energy manifested into like dis-ease, in the body. So I do feel like, there is a balancing act to sometimes allowing some of the, like, we can take the pedal off of the gas sometimes. That don't mean we go and slap on the brakes, but it's okay to just like back up off of the gas a little bit, just to kind of ease up and like really just see, like, oh,
mm,
look at those trees. Like, they're really beautiful. Like, look at the, all those flowers now. Like, oh, my favorite flowers in season. This, like, just to actually like reflect and really enjoy and be present and see where we're at. Because I think sometimes when we're like stepping on the gas and we're like, okay, I got to get to this next point, right? Like by this time, this is the expectation. Sometimes we lose focus and we kind of disconnect from our bodies in a sense. Like, it just has us in a sense of survival mode. And
mm.
we miss the beauty of what is right now. So yeah, I think there are times that we should kind of slow down. Why are you laughing at my analogy?
No, because it's so funny. I was just thinking, I was just like, this is literally like this conversation we're having is like a literal like masculine and feminine aspect. It's
Yeah.
so funny. It's like I'm over here like, nah, don't fall for your excuses. Go, 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 whatever. And then you over here just like, oh, look at the trees. It's so beautiful. It's like, it's like total opposites.
An adventure going to the grocery store, okay? Like I'd be like trying to take my time.
Yeah. Funny. That's like those videos you see like the different perspectives of like men and women in the gym and the guys in the gym just like listening to motivational, just going hard like got one more rep. You gotta go in. You gotta go hard. You gotta wake up. Blah, blah, blah. And then she's over here just like, I don't chase, I attract. Whatever is meant for me will simply find me. Just chilling.
Yeah.
Like that's funny. That's funny.
And Will.
But you know what? It's funny because I was talking to a couple of my soldiers today too. And as we was like cleaning up and shit, we was like cleaning out our cages or whatever, just getting stuff organized. And I was saying to myself, like, we need each other. Because the lesson I was thinking about when we was cleaning up was like the masculine and feminine aspects. Because like us, we can put stuff certain places, but then it takes that feminine touch to kind of organize it to make it look like it fits in that place. And I feel like that's the dynamics that we need. Like I can go hard and do all this other great stuff, but then like with that um feminine aspect, you can critique it. You can like kind of smooth it out, make things look better, make it kind of like, hey, you kind of missed the spot right here, or just kind of go over the parts that you missed essentially.
We
So
elevated a little bit.
yeah, yeah, there you go. Yeah, 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 yeah. We put it in a place and get the foundation going, and then you just build it up. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but that's, and I mean we ain't gonna spill it over here, but that's, the idea of what I thought with, this new venture that we are potentially taking is just the different dynamics of different perspectives and all of that. And I think honestly that's how we should approach life. Like, because whether we're in a period of rest, like even if we rest or, as I said, take the foot off of the gas, that doesn't mean that we just don't do nothing, right? Like that is still a time to, like, we can plan, we can critique whatever space we're in, whatever is happening for us. Like if, let's say starting a business, right? Like, so even if I was to get sick right now, like it's still kind of go time, but it can still be go time even in that period of rest, like just in a different way. Like we approach it differently. And I feel like that's how we should approach like pretty much everything that we do in life. Like approach it from different perspectives of, okay, like if I was to, I guess thinking of like the masculine energy, if I was to just go hard, what would that look like with this? But then, okay, how
Mhm.
can I balance out so I don't burn out? Like, what would that look like here? And then it's about like bringing it together to like integrate it so that we can have more of a balanced perspective. Because, either or sometimes can be unproductive for us depending on the circumstances and the environment and situation that we're talking about. So like just kind of integrating it to find like a balance and like, okay, now how do I want to move forward? And this is why I really speak to the power of the pause, because rather than just
Mhm.
being reactive, how most of us are because we're in survival mode, and again the hustle culture especially in the US, it's like allow yourself to pause so that you can actually make a like an educated like response. They used to say make an educated guess, but no, we want to make an educated response to something, not reaction. Not like, oh, life is happening to me, so I just gotta like figure stuff out, but actually allow yourself to pause so that you can get all the data that's in front of you, you know, history, we get data that's in front of us. And then, of course, our brain is always going to think of potential futures, but then take all that data and then figure out what's the best move that I can make right now and then move forward. So sometimes that period of rest can be sometimes even more beneficial than just making moves and just deciding to do things.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I can agree to that to a degree. I This is just how I feel about I think that there's gonna be a period of imbalance in the beginning. Balance is obtainable. Matter of fact, you're going to get balanced in whatever it is that you're doing, but in the beginning stages, there is a level of imbalance, especially if you're doing something you've never done before and you've never been taught how to do something. Like it's different if you're starting a business, but you have somebody who has started a business before. Like there's still work to be done, but you can cultivate a level of balance in that because you have support system. But if you're somebody who's just getting it out the mud, there's gonna be a period of imbalance as you're going through the process. So this is just kind of like a more transparent aspect to look at it. Like just for anybody who views this, right? Because there's balance, but I don't want anybody to get the preconceived notion that you have to find balance in the beginning because there are going to be periods of time where you gotta just push it because it's the beginning stages of it. But once you push it to a certain degree and you get it built properly and you get the structure and foundation in order, now you can start creating the balance because you've done all the hard work now. Now you can start creating the balance of getting the proper rest and eating and having your, having your routine and stuff like that. So balance is definitely important. Balance is achievable, but in the beginning, it's going to be a bit of imbalance, just a little bit.
Well, I even challenge that because I say that balance, when we think of balance, we think like just this equal thing. But even 5 years, 10 years into your business, there's still going to be levels of imbalance. So when I say balance, it doesn't mean equal, it doesn't mean perfect. But I'm saying even in the stage of rest, even in the stage of, because even in the beginning, even if you're like a new big like business owner, I tell my clients, like whether they're men or women, we should still achieve like to have some level of balance. And when I say balance, that means, okay, even if let's say something happens and you're not able to, like I had a client, her social media got like, like disappeared, whatever, got like hacked or something like that. So like she wasn't able to, access it. And like for an entrepreneur, that could be very kind of dysregulating. And so it's like, okay, if I don't have this, okay, that like how I would normally go about business as usual per se, it's gonna look different right now until I can build it up. Like now I gotta figure out like, so even in that, if I don't have my regular means, how can I balance it and show up in a different way? So I think, like, again, just whatever period you're in, we should still aim to have a balance, but we should be flexible in what that balance could look like. Because balance your first year of business and balance year 3, 4, 20, is definitely going to look different. So I don't say balance to be perfect, but in the sense of I still recommend having periods of self-care, periods of rest, periods of like even in the beginning of your business, like not, like having a day off per se with your business because how you show up, like we should not, we're building a muscle, like which is what you kind of spoke to earlier. So when you're building a muscle, like you don't just say like you don't go to the gym and be like, oh yeah, I'm working out 7 days a week. I'm gonna do that for the first 3, 4 months, and then after like I start to see some abs, then I'm gonna go cut down to like 4 or 5 days, right? Like no, that's very unrealistic. So I think we should do the same thing. We should be, and this is honestly, I feel like what got me to a new level in my business. Like I feel like it unlocked some things mindset wise, habits wise, and things like that. You practice how you like. So I was thinking, my thing was, oh, I want to be a six-figure coach. Like I had six
Mhm.
figures in all of my income, but not just as a coach. So I was like, okay, what would a six-figure coach do? How would they show up every day? What type of habits would they have that would be sustainable? So in thinking like that, when we're thinking about our next level, when you're starting a business or when you're, whatever the case may be, whatever transition you're in, like you should be trying to achieve balance in the sense of how do I want to show up as this like higher version of me? not necessarily like, oh, it's got to be perfect and all of this, but let's be realistic because the habits that we start today are going to be things that, affect us moving forward. So I just say that to say, yeah, I still think we should aim for balance, but be flexible with what that looks like.
Yeah, I can agree. I agree to that. Yeah, you do have to take time to make sure that you're doing the healing work because whatever you're doing is going to be a grind, and you can't grind yourself to death because it's like you still got to get your rest and things of that nature. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Like when I mean imbalance, I mean just like I guess like the structure of it all. I don't think like the actual effort that you put into shouldn't go unchecked. But I just think the structure of it all is kind of like it's gonna be wonky for a little while.
Yeah, no,
Um,
for sure.
yeah. So
Felt
yeah,
like, yeah, earlier I was questioning life today because I was questioning structures, and it was like I've been doing things like I've been posting like 30 day I posted every day for 30 days straight. And I was really proud of myself because I hadn't, been as consistent with it. And after Monday, I took a break because I was like, I went through another, I don't want to say identity crisis, but an identity shift in my business again. And I was just like, okay, let's get a little more clarity. And then I created another system, like I implemented another system rather, in my business to help me with content creation and like a more to make things a little more strategic. Like I have been in this mindset of like six-figure coach, how would they operate? Even if I'm not there yet, like how that is how I want to operate so that when I do get there, I've already started implementing. Like that muscle has already been built.
mhm.
So that's kind of more what I'm speaking to. But yeah, like earlier today, I was just like, this, I've been doing stuff in the background and improving things, but at the same time, I'm like, what is going on? What am I doing here? Like what so I definitely like what you said. I mean, the effort and um what was the other thing you said? Effort and
Consistency,
there was another word, but no. But
rest.
balance in both of those looks, it that definitely does speak to a different thing
Mm.
because so yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean this was definitely obviously needed. And I think, just talking about the communication and how that, I mean, for both of us has shown up full circle and is now a part of our mission. It's but it's also important to, I think to implement, in kind of the masculine and the feminine energy strategy and effort and just kind of figuring out what balance and what it looks like for you.
True.
But I will say a big part of that for any, body watching is community, and whatever you're doing, like find community that is on that same wavelength. Because I'm telling
Mhm.
you, when motivation will get you started, but it's not going to help you finish, So whatever
Right.
you're doing, if you can surround yourself with conversations like these, like people that are on that same frequency, like it hits different. It really does. And honestly, on days where I'm like, I don't even know what's happening here, like I can have a conversation or, that community is also social media, follow people that are in alignment with where you want to go. Not where
Mhm.
you've been, because that's usually what, a lot of people's social media speaks to. They like got family and high school friends and stuff and people that aren't in alignment with who they're becoming. So, community is not only just like physical people that you see, but also like what you're listening to, what you're watching, all of that. Yeah.
Mhm.
I know for me,
Definitely.
I've definitely been more cognizant of that. Like I'm trying to always like educate myself, like YouTube videos or my coaching programs, those like lessons and things like that. And even when I watch other stuff, like I have to be in a certain energy to watch things. And one thing I've noticed for the past few years, those like movies that are like old school, like black movies that are, folks from the hood and stuff like I just haven't, those haven't resonated with me for the past few years. And not to say they're not, entertaining, like, there's some classics, but it's just like that's just not the frequency I've been on, as of lately. And I've just noticed that shift for me.
Mm.
So yeah, like I mean, everything we take in is a part of our community, you know. So I would just say, like, kind of do an audit of yourself to see, because that's going to be a big thing that's going to help you momentum wise on achieving your goals and becoming who you're aiming to become.
Mm. Well put. Very well said. All right. I think that's pretty good. I'm good. I'm satisfied. You satisfied?
Yeah, I ain't got no homework. That's the only thing. Just like look at your surroundings, look at the trees.
The trees and get to work.
Yes, and yeah, and remember, growth doesn't happen in the usual places.
And neither do we.
We gonna
This
stop.
this has been another episode of Beyond the Usual, where we don't just go beyond. I forgot that part. All right, y'all. Hey, we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.
We
Make
don't
sure
just talk
you
about
like.
it. We go beyond it.
Oh, well, we don't just talk about it. We go beyond it. Well, wait, my bad, my bad. Well, we don't just talk about it.
We go. I'm sorry.
Damn right we do. Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Beyond the Usual. I'm li-zay Anthony.
I'm Kalisha Lachey.
And until next time, peace and progress.
Peace, y'all.